Hello, people of YouTube. This little message goes out to all the people that are basically hating on autism. Now, as some of you may or may not know, I myself have high functioning autism. Called as what what's called Asperger's syndrome. Now, don't make fun of the name. Yes, it's Austrian. I know. Um, and yeah, and I I also work with. I mean, yes, I also have epilepsy, as mentioned in the last video that I did, and I also happen to work with people um, with other various disabilities. And who knows how long I'll be in that job. They're thinking about, they're thinking about getting me a job out in the community. Um, Hopefully, it's with people, you know, more of my more of my speed and level. Um, but I mean, let's face it, that let's face it, that whole system is pretty messed up. They're not helping me so far. Anyway, let's get back to your let's get back to the reason why I'm making this video. Um, anyway, some of the people on this, some of the people on this on YouTube, I've I've noticed that there have been a lot of comments, a lot of not very nice comments made about autism, and I just realized how ignorant some people can be. You know, they call us they call us spurgs, which I realize that originates from the word Asperger's, and um, and that's not used in a very nice way. That's used to actually make fun of us. That's used to actually hurt us. I actually read a comment not too long ago, today actually, that said that um, that contained this particular word, um, that said God hates Spurs. Now, I'm a Christian with Asperger's syndrome, and I was I was actually appalled at that comment. I I I had no I just had no words for that. I was just stunned and appalled and just I you know I couldn't say anything at that point. I mean, I couldn't say anything when my when when I after I read that, because I know that that's not true. I mean, how ignorant does somebody have to be to actually post something so vile and ignorant and stupid? Anyway, another another thing that you people that seem to hate autism and Asperger's out here on YouTube. Another thing you guys seem to think about us is that we're retarded. Now I'm here sitting and talking to y'all. I am not obviously I am not retarded, and I would never in my life think that of another human being with a disability. Yes, I may get frustrated with some of my coworkers because they're not acting as appropriately as they should, but that's just them. That's just them being them. I know better. I mean, the comments that contain that word, that vile, hateful word, it hurts. I mean, that's just the most ignorant, stupid thing that somebody can just post. And it needs to end. And I hope that if this gets any comments, and if I see that and I see that word show up anywhere in the comment section of this video, you know, that I may have to take down the comment section because I'm not going to. I mean, I don't want to see that word. I mean, I've heard that word more times than I can count. I've seen that word more times than I can count. I've heard that word so many times throughout my childhood, throughout my early adolescence, throughout my teen years, and I've seen it, and I'm still seeing it today in my adulthood. I've had to live with that word. I've had to live with seeing and hearing that word my entire life. I don't want to see it anymore. Anyway, another thing y'all seem to think of us is that we're not capable of doing anything. We have our challenges. Yes, that's true. We have our challenges. But, there are some people who are, there are some people who, they are more challenged than others. But that's not all of us. I, for example, I live in my own apartment. I pay my own rent. I pay my own bills. I cook my own meals. I buy my own groceries. As far as, me having my own challenges with living on my own, I don't have a car. I can't drive. And that's mostly due to me having epilepsy. That has nothing to do with having autism. I mean, yes, I have medication that controls my epilepsy. And I haven't had a seizure since 2008. Basically, I'm on a roll with that one. But I still can't. I still don't own a car. I still don't know how to drive. Basically, because when I was 16, nobody bothered to teach me. I basically lived a pretty sheltered life as a kid. Basically, because my parents, or mostly my dad, lived, under this assumption that, he basically lived under this assumption that, I needed help all my life. Which is true in some cases, but, or he lived under this assumption that, I wasn't going to, be able to live a independent life. I don't know who told him that, but it's not true. So, I mean, but here I am, you know, a 24-year-old woman living an independent life. Yes, I need help from time to time, but, I'm able to ride the bus on my own. I'm able to go shopping on my own. You know, I'm able to go to work on my own. And the rest is pretty much, rest is pretty much history. Uh, but other than that, um, you know, other other than that, there are some folks who don't, uh, other than that, there are some folks who can't, who do not have that kind of, advantage, the kind of advantage that I do. I know for a fact that that most of the people that I work with, most of my coworkers, they either live at home or they live in group homes. Um, Now I try to avoid any sort of group. Before I was living on my own, I tried to avoid any sort of topic of group homes like the plague because I thought they were, I thought, and I still think they're shady places. Um, uh, but anyway, that's besides the point. Um, anyway, you know, these people that, my coworkers, they do not have a life of their own. They're basically living under rules of another person. They're either living under rules of a family member or a paid care provider. And I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it robs them, yes, it robs them of their independence. The system is, if we want to push for more independence of disabled people, then yes, we should push for more independence of disabled people. But there's this, there's still group homes. There's still people living at home with their parents. Adult disabled people living at home with their parents. And I know one I know one woman who's, I'm not going to disclose her age because that's, privacy thing. Um, she's, she's still living at home. And she's, uh, or, or at least being taken care of by her mother. And, and she's not handling her money. Or she's not, this woman's not handling her own money. She's having her mother handle her own money. She's having her mother handle her money. This woman has arthritis. I had to give up my job in food service and go back to my old job in the housekeeping area, or the housekeeping department of our bigger department at the community college because she had trouble with pain. Now I'm not saying I'm not saying that hindered anything from me. But what I am saying is, you know, mean, not that, that's kind of, some, that was kind of going off on a tangent there, but back to her. Anyway, you know, she wants to get her own place, but I think the process with that was, she, is still on the list. I don't know if, I mean, I haven't been told about what the situation is with her, with that yet, and I haven't asked, but I do know that currently she is living with her, currently she is living with her, her mother, or her parents. And I don't know. Um, me, I think, I think that there should be, if, if they're fully well capable of being independent, yes, be independent. But, I mean, and there are programs that will teach you to be, teach disabled people to be independent. I know, because I went through one. But either some people will not, let, either some families will not let that happen for the disabled person because they're afraid that, they're afraid of the unknown basically, or they just want to stick them in a group home and be done with it. At least that's what my take on it is. You don't have to agree with me, obviously. But anyway, back to the hate comments. Another thing that y'all seem to think about is that we're taking advantage of the system. No, we are not. I myself am on assistance, if you will. Um, and that's just due to the fact that I have epilepsy. Because um, I was, I'm pretty sure that if I was just getting, if I tried to apply for assistance on just the Asperger's alone, due to my functioning level of it, I'd probably get denied. But because I have epilepsy, then they qualify that as, they qualify that as eligible for assistance. So I don't know. It's a messed up system. Been on it since childhood, basically. Um, and even I mean, my dad's been in the service. Even the VA thinks that autism isn't qualified. It isn't a qualified or isn't a qualifying factor for services. Um, I don't know. I don't know what the whole situation with that was, but who cares? It happened. That whole thing happened a long time ago. Sorry, throat's getting dry. Um. Anyway. Uh. Let's see. Another thing that y'all seem to think is that we have limited interests. No, we don't. I happen to have a lot of interests, actually. I'm very imaginative. I'm very creative. I actually enjoy writing. I actually enjoy music. I enjoy cooking, baking, arts. Um, I actually, I mean, the shows that I'm into right now include Doctor Who, Sherlock. Yes, I'm a British buff. Sue me. Um, and My Little Pony. Yes, he's supposed. Yes, he's Doctor Who's. You know, I got Doctor Who's. Um, anyway, um, I mean, the thing about the whole limited interest thing, it really just depends on the level of severity, um, and the and how you get to know the person. Um, I worked with this one guy while I was in the transition program that I used to be in, like the very first year. Um, all he would talk about was Star Wars. All he would spend his SSI money on was Star Wars figures. Um, because all he seemed to be interested in was Star Wars. Um, and of course, I barely even knew the guy, but we didn't know each other for very long because I think the first year that I was there in that transition program was his last. It was his last year because that transition program only lasted 3 years. Um, and so anyway, um, and another, and it's like, um, yeah, I can't think of another situation where there was another where all somebody would talk about was, one topic, over and over again. No, but well, um, but I know that back in school, you know, back in school, all I know I drive, and I'm a little guilty of this too. So, being of limited interest. I know that back in school, when I like in middle school or something, all I would talk about was my favorite boy band. Um, at the my favorite boy band, NSYNC. They're no longer together. FYI. But you probably already knew that. Um, and it drove people nuts. That's probably why a lot of people made fun of me because they didn't want to hear, you know, they didn't want to hear, what I had to say about my favorite interest. They didn't want to see, my, you know, they didn't want to see, you know, pictures that I had of the guys from NSYNC. You know, only my friends wanted to see that. But, I only had like a few friends in middle school. And, and uh, those were usually, um, kids that lived on base as well, because like I said, my dad was in the service, and we lived pretty close. I mean, well, I went to school pretty close to the military base that we lived on at the time. Um, Even though it was like in the next town, the school was like in the next town, and it was one of those don't blink or you miss it towns. Um, Sorry, y'all hate that, but you know, I'm not one to flip people off. So, oh, sorry if you heard that. That was me opening my water can. I think this is. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, my friends were pretty much people that are girls that lived in the same area as me. They pretty much were other girls that lived on base. Because I grew up in a military environment, so I was already living the sheltered life, being a military brat and all. Um, anyway, that's a little history lesson from my childhood. Um, and you know, as I got older, went through high school, you know, um, I mean, I didn't get made fun of as much because nobody, nobody knew me, so it probably was easier to kind of be in that introverted zone. Yet, I kind of, figured out that everybody had their own set of friends, the cliques, if you will, because I was a freshman at one of those. I was a freshman at one of those 300 plus student schools, if you will, or 1,000 or whatever the number was back in 2004, 2005. Anyway, because I went to this school on the coast, and I can't remember how many students there were, but I know that each one of them, I know that each one of them had their own hallway or something. So it had to have been that big. I mean, each class had like their own hallway, so I know it had to have been that big. And uh, so everyone pretty much was grouped together, had their own set of friends, you know, and it was that type, it was like that type of school. Um, and I pretty much associated myself with, I pretty much associated myself with whoever I could find. I mean, I didn't really have many friends the first part of my freshman year, because I didn't know anybody that well. Um, and I guess the only people that I would consider my friends were the people in the choir, the choir kids there, because I was actually part of I was actually part of a group who had pretty much um, the same interest in music, um, in musical ability, or music at least, as I did. Um, so, and uh, you know, I and so I mean that was pretty much it. And yes, I had there were other classes that I enjoyed at that school as well. Like there was an improv class um, there that was a part of, and I enjoyed because I like doing I like doing entertaining things. I like as if you've seen some of my videos, you like I like to be entertaining. So I kind of use So I think some of that kind of stems from that improv class that I was in back in 2004. Um, uh, and also the English class I was in, because I, like I said, I like to write, and the the teacher that was teaching that class at the time, you know, he was very good, very good teacher, and um, I did have a few friends in that class, but you know, and yes, I, you know, didn't always get, some of the stuff that was being taught, but that's just, because that's just because, certain, when you reach a certain level, your understanding kind of, goes goes a little haywire. It's high school. You know, you you know, you're when you're a freshman in high school, you're kind of still, you're still kind of stuck in that transition mode from, from one level of school to the next. You're kind of in limbo there. You know, so you're kind of, yeah, you're kind of in, I don't know, it's like you're kind of in limbo there. So, but I did enjoy that subject. Um, uh, and I mean, I moved there. I moved out of that. I transferred out of that school back in, I think it was December. And I transferred in December of 2004, and then I started in another school, Mapleton, which I graduated from in 2005. Now, I did get, I mean, only one occasion, on one occasion, the only occasion I think, was there was there a sense of when I felt that I was being picked on at Mapleton. Uh, and I think it was when I first came in. Um, this kid, this guy was talking to a friend of his, and it contained the word retarded, and I thought he was talking about me. Now he's learned his lesson since then, and he's actually become one of my good friends. And I'm not going to reveal his name because, once again, confidentiality. Um, so, um, um, I, and I did like, now I did like that school. I did like going to that school because, I did have a lot of, I had friends there. They were easy to get, small town, you know, everybody pretty much knew everybody. Um, and, um, I, yeah, everybody pretty much knew everybody. And by senior year, you know, I think the, I think the bullying pretty much came to an end for me. But I come on YouTube and I see these comments, now at least. I come on YouTube and I see these comments, and that just, is like, where do I begin? Because I mean, I just don't understand I just don't understand what your aim is. Do you just do it for the fun of it? Do you do it because you want your 10 seconds of fame? Or do you do it because you want to look, you want to make others look bad so that you can look good? Sorry. What is the purpose that these people, are you doing it just to troll, just so you can be a troll? Is that it? Or are you doing this out of pure hate? I mean, I don't, help me. Help me so I can help you. Help me understand why you hate autism so much. Because I've just about had enough of you guys. I am so, I am so sick of people trying to put us into a proverbial box when they know that we don't fit. We're unique. We are who we are. And frankly, we don't give a crap about, what people say about us. Because we're sick of it. I can't speak for everybody. Because I know that, most of the time people are hurt by what people say. But I know for some folks, for some folks, most of us are sick of what what you what you haters have to say. So, you know, please, please, why, what makes you hate us? Why do you hate us? Is it something that do you get your jollies? Do you get satisfaction out of causing other people pain? Do you get your, do you get all, do you, I mean, do you get your, I mean, do you get your pleasure out of making people feel bad about themselves? Because that's, you cannot fix autism. You cannot, and that's another thing, these crackpot theories about where autism comes from and how to fix it, how to make it go away. No, you can't. Guess what? You can't. I mean, many years from now, maybe, but, long after I'm dead, maybe. But for now, guess what? No, there is no cure for autism. The only cure for the only realistic cure for autism is abortion. And that's probably what you guys think of us, is that we should just die. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? That we should all just go away? Huh? That I mean, I think that I'm really trying hard not to get pissed off at you guys and blow a blood vessel. Because that would really not be good for me, considering how angry I get. But anyway, and this goes out to all my fellow people on the spectrum, I feel so sorry for you guys because, you know, we shouldn't have to deal with this. Um, you know, you know, you know, I try and try so hard to be a good advocate for you guys, and I realize that most of the time some of y'all don't need people like me or people like Ori Neiman or any of those other people who advocate for self-advocacy, telling y'all, this is how things should be done or dealt with or whatever. It's you guys. We should be advocating together, you know, and I don't know, the process is tiring because there's a lot of people out there that just don't get it. They just don't understand. Um, and anyway, yeah, back to the, back to the, okay, back to the haters. I'm talking to you guys again. Anyway, you guys need to stop the hate. I know it's going to be hard for you guys, but you guys need to get educated. You guys need to, I mean, you guys need to read up on this. And if you don't like to read, then either suck it up or read or watch a video or something, or talk to somebody. Get learn something. Actually learn about us before you go off on a rant about how bad autism is. Because this is just getting ridiculous. Don't you think? Don't you really think it's getting ridiculous? Anyway, this is just a thought from me. Anyway, I'm out of here. Bye.